Only 24 of this custom Ronan statue from Marvel exist in the world, and I have one. Well, kind of. It's Uncle Jerry's. See, I demoted him from a grandpa to an uncle, or you could say promoted him. So I actually don't own this piece. If you're curious what I'm talking about, recently in a Doctor Doom review that you can actually check out right here, Jerry, a good collector friend of mine, loaned me that piece to review, and he did the same here. Now, I actually ended up buying one of those Doctor Doom statues. I won't buy one of these, even though it is awesome. Check out the review to find why... Check out the review to find... To find? What the fuck am I saying? As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Thanks for tuning in on the Extreme channel. We have a very rare piece from a character that's not really too popularized in the Marvel Universe, despite the fact that he did make it into the MCU. Ronan was the primary antagonist in the Guardians of the Galaxy film, #1. Now, he wasn't widely accepted, and my opinion on that is because I don't think the MCU did him justice. Mostly because they were kind of foreshadowing for Thanos to come, and they wanted Thanos to be amazing, who in my opinion would have been amazing no matter what. So they downplayed Ronan. Now, Ronan is part of the Kree Empire. So he is an alien, he's a humanoid, but just like all the Kree, he kind of has superpowers, so accelerated strength, accelerated healing, but he is very special in the Kree Empire. He is actually kind of like the Judge Dredd of the Kree Empire. He's called Ronan the Accuser. That's what he has that big-ass hammer for. And that big-ass hammer does a lot more than bashing shit up. Everything from invisibility to teleportation to releasing tons of cosmic power. And if you really watch Guardians of the Galaxy closely, you saw some of his powers showcased. Kind of how he threw around Drax like he was nothing. And Drax is known to be thrown around. And he's also the true master of invisibility. Let's not forget that. But today we're going to review this rare, custom 1/4 scale Ronan piece. So really people who love Ronan are people who love cosmic comics. So everything from Silver Surfer to Marvel, Thanos, Adam Warlock, and more. That's kind of where he has his setting. And it's not as popularized, say, as X-Men or Avengers within the comic books. And again, like I said, I don't think the MCU did him justice, so he's not really too popular. But that doesn't mean he's badass. So he's showcased here in this custom statue, which means it was a private, unlicensed commission. They only made 24 of these, believe it or not. So let's start the review looking at the concept of this piece, which is fairly simple, but it doesn't need to be too complex. Because with Ronan, he has so many different abilities and things you can attribute to him, you don't really want to go over the top. You do want to make him badass, and I think they did that. Here we have a base. This is a somewhat museum-style base, so it looks like some type of warship or machinery. Maybe it's on his home planet, maybe he's in his ship. And there's a lot of things going on. Some of them, I don't know the character well enough to actually tell you what they mean. Like it could be the Kree symbol on the front or on the bottom of the base. There is some other writing as well. It looks bashed up though, so he's definitely in the middle of some type of battle. And he is a huge dude. He's actually clocked in at 7.5 feet tall and almost 500 pounds. So here he has in a traditional, it's kind of a comic take on him with a little bit of a twist, which is what I like. And he is roided out, very muscular guy. He has these pants I wouldn't dare wear in public, but if I had a big hammer like that, I might do that. Yet he has his junk covered up because that's where I would go and attack him for. His armor, he has a little bit of a bat utility belt. He has this cloak on the back of him that you'll see is very tattered, lots of wear, because that's what this guy does. He runs around the galaxy and kicks ass. He's standing there with his hammer out, and this is such an iconic pose for him because, as I said, he's called the Accuser. Looks like he's about to deliver judgment on somebody. And I love that. There's a few portrait options we're going to look at, but both give that badassery look that, hey, I'm here to get you. Good luck going up against me. So I think it accomplishes mostly what it wants to. However, it's not incredibly elaborate. Very simple base. Very simple, I would call this a museum style pose, kind of like he's posing for a picture. So I think the concept's a 3 out of 5 on this piece, which remember, that's a good score. It's just nothing over the top. Design is fairly simple as well. Now, because I borrowed this from Jerry, he actually messed some things up that Mrs. X is going to fix, but in Jerry's defense, I would have done the same thing. So before we look at that stuff, take a look at the unboxing and assembly. Only one box for this guy, and he is a heavy son of a bitch. Mostly the body and the base. But here's the first layer. Here's the first layer uncovered. You have his cloak, the base, hammer, a few different things. And the second layer down below. Everything was packed really well. Alright, so a couple display options. You saw in the turntable in the side video, you don't have to display this bottom cape if you don't want to. And at first I was kind of going that way, and I don't think it's meant to be like that. I think it's meant to be displayed, but I think it looks much better with. But you have two portrait options. So first portrait with his mouth closed, and you can have his hood down on the back, or you can do it with his hood up. The other portrait has his mouth open, and again, the hood is down around the back. Now, I think what Jerry tried to do is he tried to put the hood up on this one, and it rubbed some of the paint on the ears, and I did the same thing. So that's actually what Mrs. X is going to fix. So not a ton of display options, but this is how I display him anyway. I like him with the hood over his head, simply for the fact that he is one ugly motherfucker, and when you're that ugly, you don't look as badass. But I think this makes him look more badass. You know, you have to have the hammer, but you kind of want that because that's iconic Ronan. Everything fit together really well, and I think the design is a 4 out of 5. They set out to accomplish what they wanted to, and they did. Now let's talk about the paint and sculpt. And one obvious thing is this is a green boy. There is a lot of green on this statue, and some of my critiques are going to be about too much green, but it still looks good and it was done well. It's just too much for me. But check it out. All right, now despite all that green, let's look at the base here. I like how the base stays really dark. You know, this is a dark character, and technically he's not a villain. He's doing his job. He's doing what he's supposed to. But I like kind of how that's a really worn, almost looks like it was a bronze at one time. So again, could be the inside of a ship. There's like venting on the side. Again, that symbol on the front, as well as on the top. And then you see all the broken cobblestones. And I think this lighter color really contrasts well. This kind of sandy beach color contrasts well with the darker outer part we were talking about. Then some more symbols in there painted in black. Now in Ronan, I think the sculpt is done excellent. So very bulky guy, crazy anatomy. He has this kind of this wide textured pattern on his suit. And just like we see with most statues, the indentations where the muscles are, there's that dark shading. He does not miss leg day, that's for sure. And this outfit almost looks like he has like a reptilian-like skin, which is not what it is. It actually is an outfit. But even on his gloves, almost looks like a onesie. Of course, if I had a hammer that big, I'd wear whatever the hell I want to as well. Now, the chrome, I think, looks okay on the armor here. It's a little dirty, but the entire statue is, because this is a guy who likes to brawl a lot. The shin, boots, pads, I was going to call them shin pads. But you'll notice, too, all the different variations of the green. So you have the color on the base, moving up to his clothing he's wearing, then the armor with the lighter trim around the outside, and the symbols on the inside of it. And then even the cape and the cloak, a totally different color green. Now, I'm not digging that on the back of the cape at all. Kind of that worn pattern. That just makes it look decrepit and old, so I'm not feeling that too much. I do like the sculpt of the cape, though, and even the hood on top, how it's flowing down, and there's a different pattern on the actual cape than this up here, even though if you look at it pretty close, you still see kind of that fine texture. I like his shoulder pad right here for armor, for fighting. Now, the tassels on it don't look the best. Probably the weakest part of the statue right there. Now, what's interesting is how shiny his armor is and how worn everything else is. That's what I'm not feeling. Like, look at, and when I talk about the armor, I mean the green armor here. But like his wrist gauntlets, the hammer, pretty worn, pretty shiny and new. Pretty shiny and new. His cape, pretty worn. But the sculpt is great. And the portrait, like I said, he looks a lot better with the hood on. Looks very evil, very badass. The paint looks really clean. That's another thing, too. The paint's pretty clean everywhere. It's just not super impressive, and it could be just because there's not so much variation in the colors with the whited out eyes. And then even the other portrait here, they did a great job with the paint around his teeth and his tongue. And that purple helps break up the blue. It would have been too much blue if his entire face was blue. I'm not sure if that's a mask or just part of his skin. This is one of those pieces, honestly, it's looking better in the camera than it does in real life, which is really rare because usually it's the opposite of that. But it's still pretty solid overall. All right, so let's talk about the paint first. Again, it's so hard to get past so much green. I wish from an art direction standpoint, which is a little bit more concept, they would have went in a different direction. But I think the paint's a 3 out of 5 on this piece. And again, that disclaimer, that might be affecting the score a little bit. Sculpt is done really well. I really, really like it. The more I look at it, the better it is, I think. I think the Sculpt's a 4 out of 5 on this piece. On the extreme scale, I think it's better than average. Now, if you remember the Dr. Doom video, Jerry wouldn't get back to me on what the retail was. Apparently, he has a life outside of statues. So I don't know what the retail is when we talk about the value of this, so I'm not going to give it a grade, but I can tell you that there's only 24 of these. Now, while that may seem, damn, that is rare, that is a good thing, I don't know, because this is not a widely sought-after character. It will never be done on the license front. Obviously, he's not going to make a reintroduction into the MCU from the dead, so I don't think it's very highly sought after. Now, I'm hoping, just like the Doctor Doom video, I was able to throw up the actual retail in the bottom for you, but again, I don't know it right now when I'm filming, so I won't grade it. But I will grade whether this has the X factor. Is it a 5 out of 5 statue? And as a reminder, is this a wow statue? Is this something you're instantly drawn to? Now, the fact that this is a character that isn't beloved by me and a lot of people, although it does have a cult following, I think that automatically eliminates it from the X Factor in this particular situation. If you haven't figured out, too, the X Factor is just my own made-up score, so I can score it however the fuck I want, so calm down. I do think it's a very cool statue. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 overall. I'm not going to give it a 4 out of 5 because of all the green. I think if some of the colors were varied up, it would have been a lot cooler. That's just my opinion. So we're going to settle at a 4 out of 5 as an overall score on this statue. But once again, a big thank you to Jerry. Seems like lately I've had a lot of statues I don't own, but make sure to stay tuned because I have tons of statues coming in. I have tracking for like 16 right now. So make sure you've not only liked this video, but you've subscribed to the channel and you've hit that bell notification. But more importantly, make sure you leave a comment because we are doing tons of giveaways. Check it out. We will be giving all of these statues away plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Again, thank you, Jerry, so much. This one I didn't break and I'm not going to buy, but he will return safely to you for your cosmic collection. I just stuttered, but I'm going to keep going. So thanks, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, drop me a like on the way out. It really helps. I'll talk to you soon. Looks like he's going to hit me in the head.